David Bowie was obviously right out of the blue, particularly just after his release of a new album. But you know, a very nicely choreographed death, and I'm sure he knew exactly what he was doing. But the influence that he had on us as kids is immeasurable. It's difficult to say, really. I mean, I think first or second album I ever bought was a David Bowie album. And, you know, he was massive for us because we were of the age where music was extremely important and influential. And he was probably the most interesting, innovative artist around it, certain British artists at the time. So, yeah, I think he had a massive influence on both of us, I'd say.
I can honestly say, you know, I've heard about artists dying, and you think, oh, that's a shame. That's terrible for the people he leaves behind, or that's the end of that career, and what will the other guys in the band do? Those kind of things. But it doesn't really affect me that much, because obviously you hear about people dying all the time. But for some reason, when David Bowie died, I felt really upset about it. And I can only work on the assumption that it was to do with the fact that he did have such a big influence on me, and I was so heavily into the music and sitting there poring over the lyrics as a kid and trying to work out whether or not they were great or whether it was just utter cobblers. I could never make up my mind. But the fact that he was such a brilliant showman and a great salesman and had always a fantastic feel for what was coming next, or the need to reinvent and the need to remarket yourself. Well, I mean, in a lot of ways, you know, he was at the vanguard of what people do now. You know, artists have mimicked that ever since, but people didn't do it before. So it was very interesting. I felt incredibly sad on the day I found out. I was quite shocked, and I don't feel like that normally. You know, Frank Sinatra, I felt bad. You know, Princess Diana, I felt bad as well, actually. Elvis, I was absolutely miserable, but not really a great deal else. It's very interesting.